Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. It is Friday, January 23rd, 2026, TGIF, as we hit this massive winter storm that's coming. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully, harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So glad to be back with you here on a Friday as we're looking at this mega storm, right, that is looking very much like, obviously, as they do, trying to create a mass, huge event here with the weather and targeting, of course, the South. What we're seeing and hearing with the, the HARP arrays and all of this. Oh, but actually, sorry, I'll get right back. I want to thank you for supporting the channel. I want to thank Roz for the donation and the great words. Thanks so much, Roz. And everybody supporting monthly. Sorry, I forgot to do that starting out, but here we go. I so appreciate you, and thank you so much for supporting You Are Free TV. Thank you, Roz, and everyone supporting monthly. Okay, so basically what we're looking at is the HARP arrays and the large array systems are shooting in some kind of warm weather, what's called like a a warm node or a warm nose, that they're injecting this warm weather into this Arctic weather in this midpoint in the atmosphere to be able to create all this ice that they're creating this ice storm with that's going through like 40 states, and it's going to be massive and it's really huge. And I've been preparing today, hence why I kind of look like I do right now. But it is, really a big deal to see what they're trying to accomplish with this weather warfare on us. And I just pray for everybody that this is a church moment for you with your fellowship to be able to really, provide and help with the people in need around you, and of course everybody to be living in that Christ spirit to get out and help your neighbor and prepare for what's coming this weekend, because it is going to be massive if they can get away with it, if they can make all of their weather manipulation systems work. So we're all praying, and we are seeing that, already in Texas, Oklahoma, the ice happening, the snow hitting the Colorado mountains, the Rockies today, and now the ice starting to come through Texas, Oklahoma. So it's going to be a big deal, and we're praying that God dissipates their weather warfare systems and that we can all survive. And the most times of what I see up there, who keeps coming up the most, they keep North Carolina, all the time, and haven't those people been through enough? So we're praying for everybody across the nation as this weather hits, and don't, it's always better to prepare than not. And so let's jump into the news. We have so much news going on, and I'm going to put on the glasses. Let's see how they fit with the hat here. My Maha hat, which I love, came straight from the RFK Jr. Team. Fantastic hat. So, and if you didn't get to watch my video yesterday, where I just brought up CRISPRs again out of C60 Evo, the fantastic capsules of the sponsor of my show here. This is a fantastic look, yesterday's video, into the lab, how they prepare this reactor that creates it, all of this really exciting, very cool stuff. Check it out. Okay, so the news is really huge, and I think I'm going to start. We could start with so many things. I think I'll start with Spanberger. Okay, this is Virginia. This is CIA Spanberger, who just was inaugurated into being the governor of Virginia through dodgy elections, and of course with her Muslim lieutenant governor, the really crazy AG guy that threatened to kill and torture the kids of somebody. This is Virginia right now, and they've already, within a couple days of her being inaugurated, said that they are going to do away with hand-counted ballots in Virginia. And this is very huge. This is a full assault against of course, our free elections, but against the Trump administration and what is going on with our disgusting rhino Senate, who has not. The Senate will not pass the SAVE Act, has not passed it, and the SAVE Act, of course, has wanted paper ballots, wanted hand counted same day paper ballots, and also to curb and stop the mail in voting except for extreme instances, plus the military. And basically, what Spanberger is saying, that they're going to get away with hand counting the ballots. They're going to trust those machines, machine counting only, which we know is full bore coming forward. And this is coming like a day or two after Trump coming out at Davos and saying, we're going to see prosecutions for the 2020 election steal, and it's everything machine plus the fraudulent ballots. So it'll be very interesting to see how this goes down. But what we need to do is we need to pass the SAVE Act. We have Representative Anna Paulina Luna coming out and saying that because now the SAVE Act already passed Congress. Okay, already passed the House, but not the Senate. Okay, you have Mitch McConnell working against it, Thune working against it, the leader of the Senate, and we need to attack them hard, really hard, actually. Like, no campaign money. We will not be supporting you or doing anything for the Senate if you do not pass the SAVE Act. That is going to be the only thing to protect us in the 2026 elections if we can't stop the fraud, if we can't stop the stealing. Representative Anna Paulina Luna coming out and saying that she has the votes to shut down Congress, because SAVE Act has now gone SAVE Act Plus, even though Congress already passed it. So why are they coming again? Well, the plus part is to also have that you have to have a valid American ID in order to vote. And that's really important, should have been there in the first one. But that there should be any question that our Congress would pass it again. Well, yeah, Anna Paulina Luna coming out again, doing heavy lifting. She does this a lot, which is fantastic. But basically saying she will shut down Congress if they don't pass immediately this SAVE Act Plus. And also now, of course, our problem is our disgusting Senate. And so these are the numbers. This is the action point today. We really need the SAVE Act in order to save our elections for the 2026 midterms. 202-225-3121 for the House, and 2777, of course, for Mike Johnson, who's all over the place, taking huge kudos today because they passed something like 12 appropriations bills instead of an omnibus bill, which is very exciting. It is a really good thing, even though some of those bills were very dodgy for what they're funding, including the Ukraine war, in the hundreds of millions this time, not in the billions. So there's that. But basically, also 202-224-3121 for the Senate. And that is where all our rhinos are showing up super spectacularly in all the things they're funding. We had something like 71 or 76 rhino Republicans going to keep funding trans surgeries, all of this coming out today. Really disgusting stuff. And then 202-224-3121 for the Senate, 202-224-2321 for Leader Thune. If you want to give him the what for, because the SAVE Act is the only, we need this. We need it now, like immediately, because Spanberger is going full bore CIA Spanberger. And remember, I've talked about her on multiple videos. She is the one who was super involved in training jihadis at the Islamic, when there used to only be one Islamic training school there outside of DC in Virginia, and she is now doing her role there in as governor. And so we have to start with that. I wanted to say that it is time to go full max. We need to go full max, and this is what all of these issues tonight are about. And I want to talk about things as we're seeing all the fraud being uncovered. We're also seeing that there is places like Texas where we're dealing with the Islamic invasion in Texas, and that there is a huge push here for people going after the H-1B visa fraud. and that this is as big as a Medicaid fraud. It's as big as all of the COVID fraud, and then the Medicaid fraud, and everything that came out of it, whether it's childcare, this home health care, all this baloney. This H-1B visa fraud is now huge, and I think it will take us into really going after the rhinos, okay, that are involved in it. And we have people like Sarah Gonzalez, who is in the state of Texas, and she has her YouTube channel, Sarah Gonzalez TX dash YouTube dash, at YouTube. And she is doing a show tonight where one of the candidates running for Congress in Texas has created an entire portal where you can go in and check out all the H-1B visa information for your area to see what's going on, because what they're uncovering is the exact same as what Shirley's uncovering with all of the healthcare fraud. This is about H-1B visas and the mills. They fake. What happens here is they create criminals out of the Indians they bring over. This is an Indian, Hindu, and Muslim Indians. A lot of it coming out through Tamil Brahmins out of their counties there, or the areas there in India, where they're creating jobs for people who aren't qualified, and they fake the diplomas out of these diploma mills. But that's not really the entire thing, even though that's massive. But they bring in people before they're qualified, and then they train them here in the United States on your taxpayer dollar. Okay, they train them here to take on the jobs that they're fulfilling under their H-1B visas. And what we're seeing here is that Sarah Gonzalez is going to these places where these companies that are called, body mills, basically body shops, where they are supposedly these shell corporations that are employing, anywhere from any one could be like up to 20 to 100 people that don't exist, and they're residential addresses, just as we're seeing with so many other instances of the fraud. And so basically, this is kind of indentured servitude, where the Indians are brought over. They have already committed fraud. They've already committed crimes by the fact that they don't actually have the qualifications that they are coming for. But then they're captured in this modern day indentured servitude. Indentured servitude way back when, in the early colonies, was where you'd have mostly Irish people coming over, and they would have to work for 7 years for like next to nothing as slaves. They barely got money, but the people who did saved it. And a lot of those Irish people are the Irish people who were indentured servants, who came and built, really built things for themselves and sent money back to Ireland, and also created, huge prosperity for themselves here in the United States. Well, this is 2.0 now, here, where we're seeing across Texas, and across the United States, and California, I'm sure, is a giant cash cow for this. But basically, the person who comes from India is captured by this fact that they're already committing fraud, committing crimes, and they have to give part of their salary to these fake corporations, these LLCs that bring them over, that are located at people's residences, all right, that aren't corporations at all, and give them half their salary, which is already down to the basic minimum salary, which is why they're being hired at all. Okay, and they don't have the qualifications. They don't have this incredible technological knowledge. They're just here to get over here. And it's all coming out. It is the exact same as what Nick Shirley is doing in Minnesota, and what we have with people like J.D. Vance talking about with California, California being 1,300 times the fraud of Minnesota, is what he had said this morning. And this is all getting out there, and it is so important for people to understand that what we're seeing here is that COVID wasn't just the pandemic to kill us all. It was the creation of shutting down industry so that they could put in this infrastructure of mass fraud, and it existed before, but it went on multiple mega steroids since COVID, with everybody working remotely, with everything shut down. And what they are able to have been able to do in this last 6 years is basically create a massively vast infrastructure for all of this fraud. So it is just going in everywhere. We have Dr. Oz talking about there's 4 billion we know of right away in California to do with the Medicaid fraud. The let's see what let's see what Vance had to say, which had to do with California, that at least 4 billion, at least 7 billion in small business loan fraud coming out of Kelly Loeffler, of course, the Small Business Administration Secretary. She knows of $7 billion in fraud in California already. So this is all just ongoing, and it is massive, and we have to check it out. We also have the fraud of our largest unions in the United States to do with the fact that they have been hiring and firing American workers in tempo with how they can insert illegal workers into their workplace. And this is the North Atlantic Carpenters Union out of Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Maine, basically New England plus New York, where there's huge proof coming out very soon about them laying off American workers to employ these illegal workers so they can avoid, of course, those great union wages, and instead bring in the unions, bringing in the illegal workers. And those illegal workers aren't getting those lovely union benefits. And so this is very interesting. It looks like it's going to be that they were also being forced to vote Democrat and being illegally basically registered to vote. So all of this fraud, the unions, the H-1Bs, hugely with India, all of this is just, we're living. The only thing that happened after COVID and the destruction completely of our industry in this United States was the creation of massive funding of NGOs that has basically just uh, flooded our country with federal money going to pay people who are not American. And it is disgusting and it is awful. And so let me go forward from there. I do want to mention here, well, I'm already at 18 minutes. I don't know how that happened, but basically I wanted to mention the March for Life today. It seems like there was almost 100,000 people at the March for Life in DC today. Very fantastic. Trump put up, there was a pre-recorded message of Trump. Vance spoke, Mike Johnson spoke, and they were, basically just supporting life and what it means to fight against abortion. And you had Vance saying that they are now defunding any of the NGOs or any foreign aid that is pushing abortion in other countries, or pushing the use of fetal tissue in other countries for research. He mentioned the how HHS has now made it illegal to use fetal tissue in research in out of HHS. These are incredible things and really massive, and we're going to keep watching as it unrolls. And then we also have, along those lines of what I was just talking about, in Massachusetts, we had, of course, the director of who's in charge of the homeless housing project, the homeless housing funding, resigning, like just out of the blue, just resigning. As we know, of course, these homeless projects, again, are a huge source of federal money, massive money laundering. It's like all of our taxpayer dollars just massively money laundered. The Biden regime was just a massive money laundering operation. That's all it was, just massive money laundering for as long as they could keep it going. And it's not like they cared; they just wanted to take the money and run. It's not, that these people are going to disappear as quickly as they can. And we see this in conjunction with in California. There also was in the last 2 days just a guy who was convicted of stealing 23 million taxpayer dollars out of California on the homeless program there. And this is being called out with Newsom. Newsom did show up in Davos, where I talked about it, and he was just demonic. But he did finally he was basically banned from the USA House there at Davos, and Davos was for all intents and purposes pretty captured by America and by Trump, even to the extent where Trump was able to usurp time that was supposed to go to other things to create this signing of what is the Board of Peace and getting that to be international news, right? This is as the USA has removed itself from the World Health Organization, that going into effect yesterday. Huge, fantastic news there with that coming as the 1 year anniversary of Trump's executive order doing that exact thing. And so while we look at, this success that the USA is having on the world stage, whether it is the Greenland Agreement, we'll get into that in a moment, of some of the details there as it's being hashed out. But basically, as we look at this, it is kind of off the charts to see that Gavin Newsom went there and sat and was interviewed by this white gay guy. I'm going to say, I don't know if he's gay, but he seemed gay. I don't know. It's just one of those things you kind of pick up. But basically, he wasn't having any of it from Newsom, who was just complaining, calling Trump evil, calling everything about America being unrecognizable. And it was just like crickets. And his eyes were red, and he looked stoned, and he looked unwell. And you could tell he's hanging out with Alex Soros of the same ilk, right, with the Huma Abedin as well, and basically doing his job to try to push for his run for 2028, while he literally was just a demon-possessed person there, with his little tiny ability to appear there at Davos. And so let's get into this with a few things. I want to get into a couple things. I want to talk about Ed Dowd, who's fantastic. He's always been so great, exposing everything COVID, exposing everything with the economy, coming out and saying, well, hey, it's fantastic, all this $18 trillion invested to the USA, but so much of this is AI based. And so much of this has to do with building the digital infrastructure of our digital cage and our space fence lockdown and our demise. And I agree with him. It is scary. And I wanted to mention Elon Musk, that hasn't gotten tons of attention at Davos. Elon Musk basically coming out and saying not only will his humanoid robots be available for purchase next year around this time, he says. We'll see if that happens, the humanoid robots. But also saying that he believes that by within 2 years there will be AI data centers in space. And so it gets me back to what Ed Dowd said with, the AI is the huge, the majority of that 18 trillion or 19 trillion of investment into the USA, the building of the power plants. We heard from Trump that he said that they're not really going for nuclear. They're mostly going coal, going coal and natural gas. Yeah, not surprising. It's a lot cheaper. But what we're seeing here with Musk is he is saying that we're looking at AI data centers in space within 2 years, and that the AI data centers are perfect to be in space because of the cold temperatures and the fact that if they're out of direct if we put them on the dark side of the moon, for instance, they can have their solar panels from the sun, get enough energy there, but they will not need cooling because of space. And so if that's sounding very much like Skynet to me, and the build out of Skynet. And so while we're giving over tons of land here in the United States and kind of being forced to do so, right, with everything coming out of um, of the push to try to take the rights from states away from controlling AI in the United States, we're seeing this massive push to create all of these AI data plants, which, as we've said on this channel, you should do it, on the coast. You should do it where they can just get tons of seawater in there to cool them, et cetera, instead of draining our water reserves dry, et cetera. But now, Musk is like, no, 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 we're just going to put it in space. And the thing here is, we could have total free energy from the sun out of space. We could have, that's what they could be putting their might towards, their energy, their investment towards, is giving humans on Earth free energy out of space using satellites like Elon Musk is capable of constructing. And instead, nope, we're going to build Skynet in space with the AI data centers being completely detached from Earth or human authority. Because once you're in space, who knows what authority is coming in there to inform you. It's not just, I don't believe that once these data centers are in space, that it will only be human informed. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of bad players. We have a lot of demonic possession. We have a lot of input. Once you get into space, where communications are coming from, we can't identify it and we don't really know it. I'll put in here, we had Candace Owens last week talking about Project Looking Glass, and people are like, oh, it's so crazy that Candace Owens could bring up Project Looking Glass in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I'd say, well, it's equally crazy to think that Charlie Kirk could have been shot by a youth with zero marksmanship using an old rifle from, all those, whatever, how many 100 yards away, and getting him in the neck. And we saw the video and it looked bogus, and we've seen everything since. So, uh, and Charlie Kirk also being, I believe, would have been an amazing presidential candidate, especially at this time, and everything we're looking at going forward with the protection of Christianity in the West. So, that might sound crazy, right? But it's not any crazier than what we're being told actually happened to him. So, Project Looking Glass, for everybody who doesn't know, was where you had remote viewers going into the future. This is true. This is not like this isn't something that didn't happen. This is our DARPA and CIA did this project, and it's still going on, where they have remote viewers going in, looking into the future. Don't forget about everything happening in Switzerland, where we just were with Davos, right? With CERN and their massive hadron colliders there that are they're expanding by 3 times the size to be that much more potent, where they're literally trying to open the gates between other dimensions and Earth, and are succeeding. And so basically, when we look at what is controlling things in this dimension right now, and who is killing who, and what's going on, it makes as much sense, right, as we watch that now we're going to roll out AI data centers in space, and who controls them then, who gets the money then, and how do we have any part in that? Well, we already haven't had any part in it, but I just wanted to go on that little rant there for a moment, because I think it's important to understand that, when Trump kind of confirms there at Davos that, yes, there was some kind of sonic weapon used there in Venezuela that debilitated everybody and made it super easy for our Delta Force to go in and take Maduro out. Yeah, there's way more besides, people. There's way more besides. the massive amounts of of weaponry, what you want to call X Protect, okay, or X Protect by Daniel List out of Dark Journalist. We've been talking about this forever on this channel. Okay, those technologies are massive. Everything from scalar weapons down to death rays of that derive from Tesla, but are so much more evolved now that just can blow up things into the ground down through a mile to kill everything there. We're at that precipice. And Trump knows that. Donald J. Trump, the J being John Trump, okay, his uncle, who was, of course, the first person to access the Tesla papers, sent in to guard them and go through them, and passed so much of this information on to Donald Trump. And the breakaway civilization is there, it is real. And I don't know why I'm going on this tangent today, but it just seemed relevant. And what Musk also had to say there at Davos was that in addition to those humanoid robots, SpaceX will be uh, basically be able to be capable of full reusability of their rockets, and that what they're trying to get rid of is any kind of waste. Where he's looking, his new starship that he's building, he said it's basically Star Trek. We're going to create the largest space-going vehicle vessel ever made, and he is looking like at a Star Trek future with a fleet, and that he believes that he will be able to uh, be part of that. He believes that he will die on Mars, and that he just doesn't want to die on impact, and that the time to get to Mars, he's saying, is only 6 months, but you have to go every 2 years when the planets are in alignment to give you that kind of arc for catapult through the galaxy to be able to reach to Mars with the energy of the planetary alignments allowing that to happen. So very interesting. And also Musk seemed like he had some weird insertion in his neck. Okay, at Davos. So we got, Newsom with his creepy red eyes, and Macron with his sunglasses and his bludgeoned right eye. But then you had this weird kind of incision looking thing in Musk's neck. So I don't know what that's all about. But basically, he was saying, but hey, the good news is our self-driving cars, if you choose to own one, you will get half price on your insurance. Oh my God. It's so nuts and crazy, but that's what these people are focused on. And so we're focused on God here on this channel. So let's get back to the things that matter in the moment. One of them is that we now understand that out of Minnesota, Harmeet Dillon, Assistant AG for Civil Rights, has come out and informed the public that we have the judge that refused to press the criminal charges on Don Lemon to do with the church at St. Paul, where they all went and invaded and attacked the Christians there in the church for anti-ICE activism. That judge, Caitlin, I don't have her name. She is the wife of the assistant AG of Keith Ellison, okay, who is, of course, received his subpoenas. He's being indicted for the fraud in Minnesota, along with Walt and Frey. And Frey, of course, had three senior officials. It's Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, has three senior officials in his administration already found guilty of the Feed Our Future fraud, all the scamming of pretending they were feeding people that they weren't, and his wife, Jacob Frey's wife, Sarah Clark, lobbies for the firm that shielded Feed Our Future. Okay, along with Keith Ellison, the AG there, the Muslim Shariist who wants there to be, only social workers who come in once you're raped and attacked in your home, right? The same Keith Ellison, who's attacking, of course, Mike Lindell, who's killing it still after 4 for meetups with all the other people who are running all of their debates. He's doing an amazing job. He's doing such an amazing job in his run for governor of Minnesota that they had to bring in Amy Klobuchar, the big guns. So Amy Klobuchar now is being called off of her very important Senate seat to be put in to run against Mike Lindell for Minnesota governor after Walz, of course, will hopefully be in prison. And so she doesn't want Mike Lindell getting those records. She doesn't want him in there seeing the massive, close to $1 trillion. Let's not pretend how much fraud there is. Okay, we know there's hundreds of billions already out of Minnesota. Think of the hundreds of billions. Think of California. Okay, we have ICE going into Maine now. The same exact thing with the healthcare fraud. It's why we're so screwed. It's why we're so broke. It's why we have no industry, because they defunded everything, offshored everything, far-shored everything, and instead just created a federal government jobs only thing where all our taxpayer dollars, what was left, what they could get before we're completely bankrupt, was just funneled into all of this crap. And so, yeah, that's what we're seeing. Very interesting to see that they're pulling they're pulling out the big guns to get Amy Klobuchar in there to run against Mike Lindell in Minnesota. We shall see what goes down, but very exciting. And so let's see what else I wanted to cover here today. I wanted to well, I don't really want to mention that. We do have good news in Oregon with Medino launching his governor race there. I'll be getting into that next week. This could be very exciting for Oregon because Oregon is fed up. And all the same thing that's, Washington State is coming out of Oregon too with the amount of fraud. So there's going to be a really good possibility that a few blue states could escape here if we can get the SAVE Act passed. That's the important thing. We need the SAVE Act passed. It is vital. So get out there and make those calls or use billblasterapp.org, and you need to call or you need to contact them on social media that the House needs to pass the SAVE Act Plus, and the Senate, okay, just say, I will never give you another campaign dollar to your rhino senator who will not pass this. This is our safe elections. We cannot win the 2026 without them. And that's what Spanberger in Virginia is doing, and making an example early on, day 2, that getting rid of paper ballots. Okay, this is insane. So no paper ballots. Just go in and vote on a machine with nothing, no records, just Dominion's, disappearance of the record, while Tina Peters is rotting in prison still. And so let's go to Greenland for a second. And we, of course, also have in Russia, there is Witkoff and I believe Kushner, etc., in Russia today with Putin, as President Trump met with Zelensky yesterday, trying to push the peace plan, okay, to end the Ukraine war. And very interesting because actually, for the first time ever, I actually enjoyed watching Zelensky do his speech at Davos, because he was just, kind of, ripping a new one out of the EU. It was very interesting. You could see he was really making a push for America here. And yeah, appropriations bills are passing, and that money's coming, but it's not what they're used to. It's not that $100 billion. It's just a few hundred million, but it is still important, and we'll get into Zelensky in a moment. But with the Greenland details, what we're hearing so far is that the U.S. will get basically access in perpetuity to pockets of land across Greenland in order to have defense staging, etc., plus industry to do with rare earths and gas, oil. But that will be mineral rights and energy rights management that will be going on there in those areas. Also, the permission to create the Golden Dome there, so we can have our AI our AI data centers in space, but supposedly also protect the Western world, the Western Hemisphere. As Trump made it very clear during his speech in Davos, that it was the U.S. that made the Iron Dome for Israel, and Bibi can't take the credit for that. He made sure of saying, and basically that all the condition around this is that this will be in perpetuity, but that sounds kind of fishy. So they're still they're still they're still working it out, and we shall see. But we do have the incredible and fantastic news that the USA is out of the World Health Organization. That is fantastic. We really should be very thrilled. The WHO is trying to claim that the US still owes them $135 million. They didn't pay our dues last year, but it turns out Biden didn't pay them either on his way out with the auto pen, whoever. And so basically, they're trying to get $135 million. And the Trump administration saying, yeah, good luck with that. And they're also trying to claim there's $570 million of all of the um, extra money that we give them for all their sub projects and all of the ways that they aim to kill us. They're trying to get that as well. So good luck there, but I don't think it's going to happen. And we shall see what comes out of it. But yeah, let's look at Zelensky's Ukraine speech, because this was very interesting. He focused on Groundhog Day, saying, we're in sub 40, wind chill here in Ukraine, and everybody's dying. And I'm so sick of the EU just basically doing nothing, saying they're going to. Just so interesting. It's one day I love the EU, next day is the EU is failing. Now really trying to push this, that the USA is now his big push out of Zelensky at Davos. And he made a point of saying, hey, Ukraine, we, with everything we stole from your taxpayer dollar money and all of our military might that we've created here, we can sink Russian ships off of Greenland. We can do that. Ukraine has the ability to do that, but you're not asking us because you won't bring us into NATO, right? That's his new thing, is Ukraine should be brought in, which, again, this is all a front. The whole EU push for Ukraine was to make it a military Death Star, a military center for the Ukraine, the EU's World War III scenario, but for their military might. And so Zelensky is doing his role here, and basically he said, if Belarus was brought into NATO, we wouldn't have Oreshnik missiles sitting there from Russia pointed at Europe, and just went on and on and on in his angry speech. But it was really interesting to watch how he did this. It was really spectacular. I mean, it was really well done. He basically said, "Oh, Europe sends its 40 soldiers over. We're just doing this is the Greenland treatment. We're just going to send 40 soldiers and pretend like we're going to stand up, for NATO, and basically just trying to shame the EU over and over." It was very, very interesting. Um, he called out Europe for basically, and the USA, for selling, and Taiwan selling components to the Russians for the missiles that are, killing and destroying Ukraine, and not to mention the oil and gas, etc. And so very interesting. He was really calling out the military industrial complex, for they just want to keep making the money, keep making the money, but they're not stopping the killing in Ukraine. And so it was really, really true. And that's why I bothered mentioning it here, because when you hear the truth, even though it's massive propaganda going out to try to push more money out of the USA to go to Ukraine, it was true, and very interesting to hear Zelensky go on that rant. And so let's see. I wanted to maybe mention, you know, basically. Um, Witkoff about the same sort of situation here as Zelensky, where Steve Witkoff there at the Ukrainian breakfast right? Which is very close to Zelensky's speech. The Ukrainian breakfast, we had Steve Witkoff there, and he's saying the solution is down to one issue. That issue is, of course, security guarantees. And the U.S., we have to really watch here hard, okay, that the U.S. isn't going to come in with some kind of crazy, security guarantee. Of course, Lindsey Graham and all of them want this. We had Chris Coons out there, Chris Coons, Biden's little boy out of Delaware, basically saying we must ratify a strong security guarantee. Those countries purchasing Russian oil must leverage that. Must leverage, not don't stop buying the Russian oil, but you must leverage the fact that you're buying so much Russian oil. It just shows how ridiculous this whole war is. You must leverage the fact that all of Europe is buying this Russian oil to get Putin to agree to this security guarantee against Russia so that you'll keep buying the Russian oil. That's what Chris Coons had to say. And basically saying that, also with those seized Russian assets, that 350 billion of Russian assets in Euroclear, that you also must leverage that and get Putin to agree to this security guarantee out of NATO, that there will be troops in Ukraine, and that's all they want. They want the U.S. to build military infrastructure in Ukraine, and they want what Zelensky said, which is the military-industrial complex to make a shit ton of money in this situation. So very, very interesting there to watch all of this. But Witkoff basically said, we're going to Moscow really quickly. This was last night, and apparently they're in Abu Dhabi today to supposedly hash out whatever they came to in Moscow, where they were meeting, with the military, with Lavrov, etc. And so we'll see what went down. But Witkoff was really praising Vice President Budanov, right? He was the former head of military intelligence, really intense on what he was doing, okay, in the capture and torture avenue of things, to do with how they were able to advance as far as they did versus Russia. But Budanov has been kind of a star player here in the EU credentials, and he is the vice president now under Zelensky, and Witkoff was praising him up and down. So I'm not saying this all to confuse you. I'm saying that this is literally where we're in real time, and we have to see what's going to come of it, because to me it's looking like a lot of money for military industrial complex, as the NDAA is still not passed, but will be, according to Chris Coons. That NDAA will be ratified this week, and it includes, as I said, hundreds of millions for Ukraine, and of course this this cash cow of our taxpayer dollars still going to kill people, right? And to create the New World Order out of the EU's ability to attempt to stay alive, okay, economically and with power. And I want to mention this before I go. I wanted to mention Children's Health Defense has done a huge lawsuit against the American Academy of Pediatrics. And this is very important. This is the American Academy of Pediatrics being going under a massive RICO lawsuit, So this is fantastic. This is what they did with like Philip Morris, with the tobacco industry, which, by the way, there's still tons of money in this like set aside fund out of that. If you know anybody who died of smoking commercial cigarettes, there's still a bunch of money available there. But basically, they're going after the American Academy of Pediatrics in the same way. They're allied with several families with different vaccine damage. One family, I think it was out of Texas, where two twin babies, twin girls, died after being shot up with these horrible, evil death shots. And they're going in basically for talking with their RICO. They're specifically saying that the American Academy of Pediatrics provided intentional false information for decades since the 1986 Act, okay, that basically gave immunity to the vaccine companies, and that intentional false information leading to injury and death regarding vaccine safety, testing, and efficacy. Talking about propaganda and coercion leading to human rights violations, fraud for profit, all of it. So very exciting to see that under being, happening, and they're doing that right in time as, of course, out of Massachusetts, there's this huge lawsuit going out against RFK Jr. to basically try to, from the actual American Academy of Pediatrics against RFK Jr. to basically lawsuit against everything he's done, to do with vaccines in his incredible reconfiguration, total takedown of the vaccine mandates from 71 to 11 for children. Fantastic work. And so they're going in time to combat that, which is so great. And I know it's been a little bit, maybe a little bit uh, well, doesn't matter. I'm just glad to be with you today. I really enjoyed doing this video with you. There's so much more to say besides, and I wanted to get into the Board of Peace ceremony that happened at Davos and how interesting it was. Trump is saying there's 50 members now that have accepted, and he's going full bore against the Board of Peace, basically making the UN null and void. He's removing all of our money. Remember, just 10 days ago, 66 parts of the UN, related organizations, and the UN that the U.S. has removed itself from and defunded. And we have Trump thanking Larry Fink. Again, very interesting situation here with America taking over Davos, okay, versus the EU, versus the royals. A very interesting dynamic that's gone on here, and basically saying that we're bringing in this Board of Peace around Gaza, meant to be a beautiful Mediterranean, new, incredible, smart everything city that everybody will be 100% employed. It's going to be gorgeous and lovely, et cetera, et cetera. The first thing we're going to do is build worker housing, and yay to all of that. But very interesting to watch that. Okay, this is a new twist and something we'll be diving into deeply, because there really is concern. Okay, there's always concern about this new order. What Trump's bringing in here with the Board of Peace, getting rid of the UN, and the UN is disgusting. It's awful. It's evil. It's completely destroyed sovereignty across the world, the quality of life for humanity, and bringing in the tyrannical Nazi-based system forward that was funded by the Rothschilds and created as, to bring in the one world government through technocracy. But now we're getting this new massive technocratic regime. And they're even, with Gaza, with the rebuild of Gaza, calling it, of course, a technocratic Board of Peace. And so we have a lot to look into, a lot going on, and also a lot of good things coming with prosecutions out of the ODNI, out of Tulsi Gabbard. Basically, a lot coming to do with the election steal and how to secure our elections coming up. But it is a war, and it is big. And you know what fights it? Our prayers. Turns out, God, and the fact that we are warriors for the Prince of Peace. And the more prayers we do, and the more action we take locally and take control of our own lives, because all of this always comes back to me, and it comes back to you. It comes back to what we have, either been born into thinking or learning, and what we become in our lives, and how we go out to create good in the world, take agency for our own lives, truly, and how we then spread that and share it, become leaders, and try to bring down into this realm, this earthly realm, the natural law, as the golden ruler, as the law of all. And so I just encourage you to spend a lot of prayer time and to really reach out to those around you. And of course, with this massive winter mega snow NATO, ice NATO, that you give support to the people around you, because that in itself, doing so, being part of that solution, being part of the help in the neighborly way, it really boosts your spiritual energy. It boosts your ability to then be more skilled going forward. Okay, so we're going to be humans to each other, we're going to help, and we're going to protect each other with whatever this weather weapon assault they're doing. We're going to be there. And so I'm going to leave it there for now. I want to, of course, again, always say thank you to c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. This is the incredible ESS60 molecule that's made in this incredible reactor that is at the heat of the sun in order to get fullerenes, okay, that then are completely purified in order to put it into your body, into all of your cells, in order to make your cells healthy again. It is an amazing company, and I appreciate your support there. c60evo.com/YAFTV, code YAFTV for 10% off. Check it out. People buying it up by the caseload for the big C clinics and people individually. Degenerative diseases, everything nervous system, just huge. And plus, just daily focus and energy and anti-inflammation. Whew, starting to get hit from the. Whew, sorry, I just paused there for a minute because I got really hit by the whatever happens when they hit you when you're doing these videos. But anyway, I just wanted to say to everybody, thanks so much for supporting the channel. If you found something helpful, please support the channel below. It's so appreciated. Please stay safe this weekend. I may be popping back up because I'm really concerned about everything going down. And I want to get people knowing anything I find out about the weather array systems and what's happening. So anyway, you are free. TGIF, take good care, prepare well, and I will see you next time. You are free.